All right, guys, what's up? Rich Schnyderite here. I'm joined by Ryan, Patti, and Alex Gleitman. You guys know them if you're on the boards. They're our recruiting guys, our football recruiting guys. How's it going, guys?
What's going on? It's pretty boring right now, but hanging in there.
Yeah, it's going. I think we're doing the best we can, but I saw that golf courses and parks are going to be opened up in New Jersey this weekend, which is nice. Social distancing rules applied, but I'm excited if the wife lets me to get out and hit the links a little bit.
There you go. I don't have to worry about that because my ball's 20 feet in the woods anyway, so we're good. But all right, so this is going to be the first of what hopefully many. I'm going to call it the TKR Power Hour, make it a little bit different. Feel free to grab a beer if you guys want. Anyway, let's start off with some recruiting. Rutgers is number 16 in the country right now. Which one of you wants to go first? Just to talk a little bit about class and who's in it.
Patty, go ahead.
All right. I mean, I like what Rutgers has done so far. You get the guys in state. I feel like they're targeting a little bit of South Jersey, but they're getting a lot of, guys that you want in this class. If you look back in the fall, let's look at the 2021 class, who were kids that we can reel in. Colonel Davis, obviously a guy you're looking at. Elijah Clark. Elijah Clark was the first one to go. And, he's a guy that, very glad to have him in the class. Guy we think could turn into a 4-star. So,
What?
I like him. I like Cornell Davis. I like, who am I thinking of here? Keyshawn Griffin. I like a lot of the guys in South Jersey they're going after.
Yeah.
I think Fran Brown, I think Shiano, I think all of them are doing a great job so far.
Mm-hmm. Alex, what are your thoughts on this class?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think good class so far. Very concentrated strategy, which I think is paying off. They're not offering 500 kids like some other staffs across the country or like some previous staffs may have done here in the past. They definitely have their list. They have their board of guys they like, and they're going after them. And just talking to the recruits and Ryan and Rich both, I'm sure you can kind of agree that, when you talk to kids and they talk about Shiano getting on the phone and talking with them about how they don't just offer anyone, they were really only offering guys they really want, that they're really focused on, that they think are going to be a great fit for both the culture and what they're trying to build on the field. That's resonating with kids. And I think, you're seeing the success, not just in New Jersey, but across the country. Braden Fox from Ohio, Keontae Hamilton from Maryland, Cameron Stewart from Pennsylvania, Max Patterson from Virginia. So not just New Jersey, but as Ryan said, they've hit New Jersey hard. He mentioned a few guys. Another one that I really like is Kyrie Benton out of Newark West Side. He's a guy that kind of emerged onto the scene last year at the Future Phenom Showcase out in Brooklyn. All three of us were on hand to kind of see that. And you just saw the way the kid looked. He looked like a D1 kid. Then you saw the way he moved, and he looked like a D1 kid. And after that, a bunch of schools started offering. He had a good year on the field, very athletic linebacker, who I think is going to fit really well in Greg's system moving forward. So that's a New Jersey kid I'm excited about. But looking outside of New Jersey, I also wanted to point out Braden Fox. This is a kid who his first 2 years of high school, he played quarterback. Transfer at Cannon Glen Oak, transferred schools to Akron Archbishop Hoban, one of the top schools, not only in Ohio, but the whole country, moved to wide receiver. Big kid, 6'3", may not be growing, or may not be done growing. Father played for Penn State. Uncle played for Ohio State. I think his grandpa also played Big Ten football. So that's a kid who I think has a high ceiling at receiver, big body kid who can run like a fox. And I really like those two pickups for Rutgers so far.
So now you mentioned Kyrie Benton, Ryan mentioned Elijah Clark. They have 3 of the top 15 in state. You mentioned they have a couple other guys out of state that are highly ranked. If I told you back in December when Shiano first got hired that he would have a top 16 class in the country in mid-April, late April, would you believe me?
I mean, this early, I don't know. I mean, at any point, I really wouldn't think that they would have a top 16 class. And, we mentioned all the guys that they have in the class already, but a couple other guys we didn't mention, Shadi Salam, very, twitchy running back, a guy that kind of reminds me a lot of Israel Bonaconda, a little smaller, of course, but very fast, very twitchy. And I like Jordan Thompson, too. You could do a bunch of different things with him. So it's just a deep class right now. Still plenty of guys are going after and out of state. And we'll see how it shakes out the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I covered Greg when he was at Ohio State and just saw how good of a recruiter he was there first, and not having to be the head coach and just obviously being defensive coordinator, having those roles and responsibilities, but also just being a recruiter. And he was just a pure stud, pulling a lot of really good talent, especially out of the East Coast. If there was a guy he wanted, he pretty much came in and got it. So I know he was really good, especially toward the end of his term at Rutgers when he had the thing rolling a little bit. But even before that, the way he turned it around and not only recruited guys, but developed them. And I think that's going to be key here too. I would say I thought he'd finish with a top 40 class, maybe a top 35. I was skeptical about a top 25 class. And I think a lot of that's just because of the results on the field. And I think in time it will be consistently top 25 classes for him at Rutgers. But I will say I do want to caution the fact that it's early. Rutgers, the guys they have in this class it's not like they're ranked extremely high. I don't even think I'm going to look at the list right now. Yeah, they don't even have a 4-star in the class right now. So I think as people continue to catch up to them as far as numbers of commits in the class, they're obviously going to drop in the rankings. That said, Rutgers isn't done yet either. Unfortunately, we haven't had the opportunity to go to rivals camps, most of them, see kids at Rutgers camps or other camps across the country and have a true evaluation, 7-on-7, things like that, to kind of boost the rankings. I don't see the rankings really changing all that much anytime soon until football happens again. But I do think that Rutgers needs to get a few of those higher-ranked guys if they want to finish in the top 25, the Audric Esteems, the Gino Vandemarks, guys like that, a few 4-star guys, a few higher-ranked 3-star guys, and hope that, evaluations are properly made on some of the guys in their class that they feel are underranked at this point for them to finish in the top 25.
Yeah. So now you mentioned it's still early in recruiting. One of the positions that commit the earliest is quarterback. Where do they stand right now? I know they just lost Hampton Fay to Michigan State. They're probably their top target at the time.
You want to do it, Alex? Or you want me to do it?
I'll jump in first. For me, I was just going with the you first than me, but I'll go first. And I do that just because I like to see what you say and then say something better. But I just think Taj Bullock's going to be the guy. It seems like, and I'm not saying this is the case, but it just seems like, Rutgers is just trying to find every which option to evaluate that's not Taj Bullock. And I know that they're continuously talking to him. They're staying in touch. He's not ready to make a decision yet. I know he wanted to make a few more visits, might be forced to make a decision before that happens. And I think Rutgers is in a really good spot. But, I do think Rutgers is keeping their options open outside the state of New Jersey. They're clearly interested in a number of guys. Christian Valou just committed to Penn State. They've been on a number of other guys. I forget the kid's name down south. I know NC State's kind of in the lead for him. But there's a number of guys nationally that they've been looking at. I know there's another kid down in Texas that they're looking at really closely, but haven't offered yet. I think push comes to shove, Taj Bullock's going to be the guy, and I think that would be my guy. I mean, I've seen the kid play multiple times in camps with pads on during the season. He's just a gamer. He's a baller. He's a winner. He loves New Jersey. I think he would be a great guy who can rally the troops, get some local guys really excited about the Scarlet Knights. And once he gets into the program, be a leader, be a guy who puts his body on the line every single play, do it with his legs, do it with his arm. And I think the great thing with him is he's got a high ceiling. I don't think he's reached his potential yet, especially as a passer. I think working with Sean Gleason every single day over a course of 4 or 5 years, I think he'll be a really good quarterback by the time he leaves Rutgers, if that's where he ends up going.
So now, Ryan, you've seen him quite a few times this past season alone, I think. What are your thoughts on him? And compare him to, I guess, Jay Lou. I know a lot of people like to compare him because they're similar build, same school and everything. What can you say about both of those guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to say is that, Rutgers made their, first initial wave of commitments. They got their guys, their first 11 guys. And I think that's important because the quarterback situation is when you got to evaluate, very, very, precise, because this is a position, of course, that hasn't been great for Rutgers in the past few years. So you want to make sure you find the right guy. So I think that, like Alex said, I love Bullock, and I think that he's going to end up being the guy. But, they're going to offer maybe 2 or 3 more kids. We talked about it in the in the Ask the Experts forum earlier today, and I think they're going to end up offering 2 or 3 more guys. But I love Bullock. I mean, I didn't really have too high expectations for him this year because I'm like, hey, he sat behind Masai. I didn't, really know what to expect. And I'm like, all right, first test for him here at Bergen Catholic. Let's see what happens. And he led a game-winning drive in the final minute. And they actually dominated him for most of that game. There were many games like that. They beat Bosco on a final drive, game-winning drive there. He has a clutch drive against Bosco in the state championship. So he beat Bosco twice. And, I mean, this is a really good, prospect, dual-threat kid. You like to compare him to J-Lou, but I think he's a better runner than J-Lou. They like to run him between the tackles a lot, too. A lot of, just, tuck the ball and run, take the snap, tuck the ball and run. And I think that Taj Bullock's a kid who could do it all. You want to see a little more progression, through the air, especially with throwing the ball downfield. But I do like Taj a lot, like Alex. We both like him a lot.
I just move on a little bit. Coronavirus hit. What was it? I would want to say January, February, around there, maybe even March, if I remember correctly. So how has that affected recruiting? You guys talk to the recruits. Are these guys still getting workouts in, or what are they doing in the meantime?
I think they're doing everything they can. I mean, gyms are closed. Training facilities, all that type of stuff is closed. I think every kid's different. Some kids are fortunate enough where their parents have nice home gyms in their basements and things like that, and they're able to take advantage of those types of things. I mean, some kids are straight up, kind of makeshifting their own gyms in their backyard or using, I've seen kids use water jugs and attach them to a pole to use as weights. It's really, everything across the board, but it does seem like guys are getting out there with some training groups and doing, some field work stuff, obviously practicing social distancing, wearing masks, doing things like that. I know the About You group in New York City has held some virtual workouts, which is a really cool, creative method. But, I think these kids are just scrapping together, doing anything they can. I was talking to Andrew Butler at the Paul Catholic. He's just throwing the ball in the backyard with his dad, trying to make all the throws and using his dad as a target. So I think the good thing is everyone's on the same, page as far as like where they're limited. But I do think there are certain people that have advantages over others based on, what their resources are in their homes.
Speaking of advantages, Ryan, how much of an advantage has this given Rutgers in this recruiting class?
Yeah, it's given them an advantage for sure. I mean, you hate saying it, but it's given them an advantage. And to piggyback off of what Alex was saying, I was talking to Austin Dean, the Tampa linebacker that Rutgers is pursuing right now, and he said he had a field right in front of his house that they set up sleds and he's pulling sleds and stuff. So like Alex said, I mean, they're finding new ways to stay in shape. Kids working out in their garages, their basements. But this situation has definitely helped out Rutgers, especially with the local kids. I mean, kids like Keyshawn Griffin, who couldn't make visits, who couldn't wait to make visits. Obviously, Elijah Clark racked up his recruitment early, but there's kids like Kyrie Banton who couldn't make visits, and kids that couldn't really, go out to the local schools like the Boston Colleges, like the West Virginias, and also Roderick Estimate is another one where Rutgers is in a good position because that kid can't make visits elsewhere. The last visit he made, it's another reason why, because the last visit they made was the March Rutgers visit where they had everybody on campus. Like that was like the last chance for kids to get to a campus, and a lot of them went to Rutgers that weekend. So it's a huge thing that happened, unfortunately, for the rest of society, but it's helping out Rutgers right now.
So now we've seen a small glimpse of what this staff can do. What's next? Who's next? What's next?
For recruiting, I mean, I don't know what's next. I originally thought that, when it came to this whole coronavirus recruiting ban, that it would actually slow things down, but it seems to speed things up. I think first and foremost, you have to make sure that the kids you have committed remain committed. I think this year more than any other year, that's important because a lot of these kids made pledges, as Ryan said, not having been able to make visits, maybe some of them locking in spots in classes just to make sure they don't lose that spot. Some of them, I don't know if this is the case with Rutgers. I know I cover Ohio State too. I know there was a couple kids who committed never having visited campus. And so I think this year there's going to be, once things open back up, it's going to be a free-for-all of coaches trying to get kids to flip that are currently committed. And so I think Rutgers just needs to make sure that the guys they have stay in the class. And then, after that, it's just doing work with the kids who are waiting and can afford to wait. The 2 SJR kids, there's a couple other guys in the state of New Jersey who I think are priorities. There's probably a few New York guys as well. So it will just be interesting to see, I think, when does this thing end? How quickly can Rutgers get guys on campus? And then, from a season perspective, how is that impacted, and how does that impact the recruiting cycle? And obviously from a team perspective, it's going to be pretty interesting to see, do they play a full season as planned? Is it a shortened season? Is it a delayed season? Is it a spring season? And then all those things have a domino effect, I think, when it comes to recruiting.
Of course. Ryan, any thoughts?
I agree completely. And, right away I think of the 2 kids that got Michigan offers, Salam and then Banton. And a lot of the people on our board were worried, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen because they can't go anywhere yet. No one can visit anywhere yet. So, we're going to see how that plays out. Like Alex said, I think it's going to be a little bit of a free for all. And I think, obviously Shiano's got to get 14 more kids for this class roughly. But I think his biggest challenge is going to be keeping the kids that are currently committed, because kids are going to want to take visits. Kids want to use those 5 visits they have. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens there. It's going to be a little bit of free for all, but I think Shiano will do a good job of keeping kids here.
Well, let's be honest. Those Michigan offers, nothing's going to happen because they're recruiting very poorly. I think we can all agree on that.
You never know.
They've taken a step back. Anthony Campanelli's not there anymore, so.
Chris Partridge's gone too.
Yeah,
it hurts, man. It hurts more than they think.
They definitely don't have the clout in New Jersey as much as they did before. Don Brown still got it going up in the New England area for sure. It seems like that's where they're pulling all their guys from right now. But yeah, it's not going to be as easy for them just to walk into New Jersey and get guys as it used to be. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So what else we got on topic? What do you guys want to talk about? We got transfer portal. We got pretty much team.
One thing I thought about that we didn't chat about before we jumped on here was the new NCAA rule with likeness. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if everyone heard, but kids are going to be – I didn't really read through the full rules, but I believe starting in the 2021-2022 season, kids are going to be able to use or get endorsement deals outside of football, not be paid by the school, not be paid for any endorsements, anything related to sports. But if a local car dealership wants to pay you to be in a commercial, you can be in a commercial and get paid for it. And I think on one side, it's a great win for the kids. I personally am someone who thinks getting a full ride, getting the stipend, getting unlimited food, getting unlimited gear, the opportunity to housing, all that stuff, the opportunity to get to go to a school that a lot of these guys maybe wouldn't get into if they were just the average student who didn't play sports, and get that, education, everything paid for 3 to 5 years, however long, you plan to be there. I think that's enough personally. I understand kids feel like these schools and ESPN and CBS and all these companies are making so much money off of them that they feel like they deserve something. So I think that part of it is a good balance in being able to go to the local mall and sign autographs or something like that. Or, as I said, get an endorsement deal with the local car dealership or a local restaurant. I think that's great for the kids, and I have no problem with that. What I am concerned with being a recruiting guy is, number one, this gives a huge advantage to schools with massive booster alumni followings, especially those in big metropolitan areas. Ohio State being a school I cover, being one of those that's certainly going to benefit from this. But at the same time, it more so almost legalizes or regulates, makes it permissible for boosters to pay recruits basically to come to the school. Now, of course, the NCAA, I'm sure, is going to have rules of like, if you found out there was any sort of like agreement before they signed, you could get in trouble for that. But what's really to stop a school from telling a kid like, hey, I know if you come here, you're going to be able to sign a 4-year deal with this dealership and it's going to pay you X amount a year, or that dealer kind of going to the kid on the side and being like, hey, once you sign your letter of intent, like we can sign this endorsement deal right away. I just think that that's going to cause a huge problem across the country from that perspective. And I think it's going to be very difficult for schools that don't have, I mean, Rutgers is located in a great place in the New York City metropolitan area, I would say, to be able to provide those opportunities. But at the same time, I'm not sure Rutgers has as rabid a fan base as an Ohio State, an Alabama, an LSU, Michigan, schools like that. Maybe not Michigan as much, Texas, whatever. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, where those guys are going to go over the top, ridiculous, and it's going to be validated. Like, Chase Young being paid millions of dollars to endorse a brand in Columbus is like completely validated. Whereas, like, I don't know if that's the case at, like, quote unquote, not as big of a power program. So that's just something that I saw come across my desk this morning that had me thinking. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but I'll end my little soliloquy there on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. The biggest issue is, and I saw someone bring it up on Twitter, and they brought up a really good point. Say a guy like Justin Fields, do we know if it's going to be start in 2021 or 2020?
I don't think this year. I think following year. Yeah.
Okay, so hypothetically, say Justin Fields stayed another year after this one. Say is he going to make more money than the offensive coordinator, and how's the offensive coordinator going to feel about that?
Well, I mean, a lot of people feel like the athlete should be making more than the offensive coordinator, like they do in the pros, right? So I personally don't think that that's that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, it starts to get crazy. I know a lot of people are like, why don't the schools just pay the kids at this point? I think that's a whole different issue, because it's like, do you pay everyone the same? What about Title IX, women's sports, non-revenue sports, et cetera? So I do think this is a good way to go. And I'm just curious to see how much money are these kids going to be paid? How much is it going to affect recruiting? How are schools going to be able to use it? I saw Mark Pantoni at Ohio State already tweet on the release that Bleacher Report put out or whatever, that like Columbus is a massive city with plenty of opportunities, basically. Like, schools are already using this. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, and then like how successful is a program like Rutgers in being able to use this to advantage. Again, they're in the right area for the opportunities, but do they have that booster presence that's going to pony up for these kids for them to be able to use that as a recruiting tactic? I don't know, Ryan, what are your thoughts? Your brother's obviously going to have some skin in this game, I'm sure. You got some thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like what the kids get, from the schools, the stipend, the full ride already. Like, that's like, I know what my brother gets. Like, that's more than enough. He got a watch for winning the Sun Bowl game. The whole team got watches for that. So, there's plenty that they get. But, if a Joe Burrow or a Chase Young or someone like that wants to film a commercial for Subway, they could go do that. They're already a big name. The whole country knows about them. The whole world knows about them. The ones who follow sports. But, it's different than, saying, oh, we're going to give you X amount of money. You're going to get the salary. Like, that's not the way to go about it. I think that this is a good way. You want the kids to go out and be able to, not make money off their name, but, make money off of, who they are in society. They're a big name already. They can go out and, they can make money off of that. But, I agree with you basically 100% on everything. And it's interesting to see how it's going to play out with Rutgers.
Gotcha. Well, more importantly, they announced today that they're not going to bring back NCAA football, the video game. A little upset about that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that, if you're going to do this whole thing, you might as well find a way to bring that back. I mean, that's the worst part of it. I couldn't hate O'Bannon more than I do. that game got nixed. That was the best game going, especially once you were able to upload rosters and actually put their names in, not having to do it manually on your favorite team. I don't know. You guys might be too young to remember that, but
no, dude, I remember. Trust me. It's Papa Grande. He used to have the best rosters around. It was fun. It was fun. But all right, what else we got? Got anything, Ryan?
Alex wanted to talk about quarterbacks, like the guys on the roster right now. I'm down to talk about that.
Okay, we can talk about that one. So what we got? We got Evan Simon, Art Sikowski, Johnny Wangan, Cole Schneider, and I guess Peyton Powell, sort of.
Well, I think the big thing, the reason I want to talk about it is that, when we drafted our teams in that fantasy draft, the big debate on the board was kind of like, who's got the best quarterback situation?
I know. Thank you.
I know you're a big fan of Evan Simon. Talk about Evan Simon a little bit. Like, what makes you a big fan of Evan Simon? So we saw him at that opening camp, and we like what we saw.
Yeah. So the biggest thing with Evan Simon is that we all know Rutgers does not have a good offensive line. So you're going to need a guy that's a little bit mobile, a guy that can get out of the pocket and do some things there. He kind of has that best of both worlds type of thing. So he's a solid passer. He's pretty accurate. He's a decent deep ball, nothing crazy. But when it comes to like running, he can run the ball. He can avoid the sack, avoid the pressure. I think he ran for like almost 1,000 yards his senior season. I know he doesn't play the best competition out there. What is it, Manheim Central, I believe. But overall, I think he fits that kind of style. Like you saw Johnny Langan last year step in and actually play decent. With that, you just have that running mobility as a quarterback, and I think it just makes a hell of a lot of difference for that offensive line.
It's tough. I want to see these guys. I wanted to see them compete in the spring. I want to see them in camp. I think everyone gets a blank slate. New coaching staff, new situation. You get a blank slate. Don't worry about what Langan did last year. Don't worry about what Art did in the past. To me, everyone comes in, freshman, everything. Day one, you're starting from zero. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see them compete in the spring, learn the new offense. Now, installing that offense over Zoom is not going to be the same as installing that offense on the field for whatever it is, 20-something days in practice in the spring, and then, working in the summer and all that. So I really don't know what's going to happen. I'd like to see Art get another chance. I know, the thing on him has always been in shorts and a T-shirt. He's great. He put on the pads, and it's not always the best situation there. But I don't think he was in a fair situation previously at Rutgers. The offensive line was horrific. How many coordinators did Ash have in his 3 or 4 years there? I just don't think any player was set up to win in that situation. And I think to your point, Richie, like Langan last year did well because he can run for his freaking life and make plays. And, I like Johnny Langan in high school. He was like a Tim Tebow light. But I just don't know if he's a college quarterback at the Big Ten level. I thought coming out of high school, maybe he'd play linebacker, maybe he'd play tight end or H-back or something like that, little wildcat quarterback. He's definitely done better than I thought he would, just seeing him last year make some plays. But can he make every throw on the field consistently over a 12, 13, what Rutgers would hope would be a 14 or 15 game season at some point down the line, right? Like, I don't know if he can. And I would just like to see his development under Gleason. I'd like to see Art, his development. I haven't seen much of Simon. I haven't seen much of Cole Snyder. So I would have loved to have seen those guys. I personally, from what I know, Peyton Powell's probably going to play either receiver or cornerback. I don't know if they're going to give him a shot at quarterback or whatever. He's a tremendous athlete, so he definitely would fit that billing of being able to run and make plays with his legs. But again, I don't know if he's a good enough thrower at this level to be the guy. So if it was up to me, just on what I would know, it'd be an Art versus Langan competition. I don't know too much about the younger guys just yet, but I also think they're still in the market for a transfer quarterback. And it will be interesting to see if they bring in anyone before the season starts, if the season starts.
Ryan, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the most interesting thing is going to be seeing if they bring in anybody else. But what I like about these quarterbacks is they all have different skill sets. I mean, Art's a guy, very, very poised in the pocket, when he's got the time to throw, of course. Johnny Langan, good runner. Evan Simon, a bit of both, and then we know Cole Snyder can play as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see this play out. And the spring would have been very important because, like Alex said, it's kind of a fresh slate. New regime, new everything. You have new people, new eyes on you. So it's kind of an every man for himself. Whoever plays best in the spring is gonna have is gonna be in the driver's seat moving forward. Heading into camp, but. What I want to really see is how much this year off for Art helped him, because I thought the situation in 2018 was a little bit unfair. He comes out and has kind of the cupcake game against Texas State, plays well in that game. And then, just gets ambushed against Ohio State. I mean, sold out horseshoe, gets just, crushed.
Nick Bosa literally killed him.
I know. I know. Like it was unfair for him to be in that game, honestly, in my opinion. But, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Like Alex said, I don't think Powell's going to be part of that quarterback discussion. But it's going to be all about who they bring in, if they do bring someone in, and kind of, how they go about it from here, because you can't prove a lot over Zoom.
Yeah. So now I guess the biggest issue with Art that I have is, do his teammates still trust him after he kind of quit midseason and just started redshirting out of nowhere, then entered the portal and then out of the portal? Do you trust a guy like that again?
I think given the circumstances, I don't think anyone's holding that against him.
Mhm.
Personally, if I was on a team, I wouldn't love that. It wouldn't be my move, but I think everyone understood that last year was a complete disaster from the sense of them firing Ash mid-season, scrambling to figure it out. It was just not pretty. And I think nobody really on a team faults a guy for doing what's best for them at the time. I do think that was the best move for Art. I think there was other guys on the team that did similar things. And I'm not going to say that there was no one on the team that was annoyed with that. They feel like if you're going to go out there and you're going to be a part of this team, you should strap the pads on and get out there and play, give 1,000% every single snap. Just as if the team was 12-0 versus 0-12. And I would probably be someone who would actually feel that way if I was on a team. But at the same time, I haven't heard anything, I should say, of anyone of any sort of ill will. I know he's been working out with receivers and tight ends and things like that in the off season, in the bubble and things like that. And it doesn't seem to have bothered them from what I've heard.
Gotcha. So now we got, I think it's 7 minutes left. So what do you guys want to wrap it up with?
I mean, I guess I wanted to talk a little bit more about Art. That decision he made to go in the transfer portal and then take himself out of the transfer portal. I feel like it was kind of him trying to escape the uncertainty more than escape Rutgers, because if he were to play that full season, it's another year with the new play caller. The year off I think helped him with kind of I guess forgetting McNulty's offense a little bit. Not having a new playbook, 2 playbooks in the span of 2 years, and then it's going to be a third one this year. So you obviously kind of want to give yourself a calm situation there to get ready for the new playbook. But I mean, I think it was more of just him trying to escape the uncertainty with what was happening than ditching Rutgers and saying, oh, I need to find myself a new team.
I agree too, 1,000%. I think that's what I was saying with what was best for him. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, Rutgers isn't the best for me, I'm just going to quit this year and then transfer. I think it was more so like, I don't know what the future of this program looks like. This isn't what I signed up for anymore, and I just need to make sure that whatever this is the right thing, and I'm not losing a year of eligibility by continuing to play. So I think when you look at it in that perspective, and I always like to say, if this was my son, whether you have a kid, don't have a kid, whatever, if this was your son, whether we're talking about an Art situation, guys sitting out of the bowl games to protect their draft status and health and things like that, it's like, if it was your son, what would you tell them to do? And for me, I think he made the right move, and I don't think Rutgers fans or fellow players should hold it against him. All
right. I got a cool little game we're gonna play for the next 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever we have left. I'm gonna name a prospect. You say Rutgers if you think they'll end up at Rutgers, or you should other or whatever, or no. So start with Audric Estime.
Yes. You want to just keep it to yes or no so we get through a couple? I'll just say yes.
Yeah, you don't have to give me a response.
I'll say yes. I'll say yes too. I think Rutgers.
All right, let's go with the other St. Joe's guy, Gino Vandermark.
I'll say yes. He's got a little more interesting situation. He's got some big-time schools pursuing him, but I'm still going to say yes. He loves Augie Hoffman.
I'm going to say yes. I think he feels Coach Hoffman's made him the offensive lineman that he is today, and although he won't be his position coach, I think he trusts him. The relationship there is strong. Yes.
Any other in-state New Jersey offensive lineman?
That's a tough one.
Come on, Ryan.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because they're pursuing a lot of guys out of state. The Kevin Toss, the Bruno Zandamellas. I don't think it's going to be someone from in-state besides Gino.
I'm going to say no too. I can't even think of anyone else they have an offer out to in New Jersey. They passed on Wigginton. Ketchick's going to Vanderbilt for 2021. I think I'm going to go no also.
Taiwan Malone.
I'm going to say no, but it's good that they're seriously in the discussion right now. Though. I mean, year one under Shiano, you don't expect to be in a battle like this. so it's good that they're in this battle. But I'm gonna say no. Alex probably has a little more insight on that because they're the school that he's covering, the other school is in on him too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go no. With Ash, there was zero, literally negative chance maybe. Shiano, there's a chance. Is that 5%, 10%? Sure, maybe, but they're in the conversation. They're doing the right things. He had a good visit there. I just think he ends up elsewhere, Ohio State or somewhere in the SEC. But yeah, as Ryan said, unbelievable to be in the conversation for a kid who's borderline 5-star right now.
Interesting one. Darien Chestnut.
I'm going to say no, just because, I don't think a lot of schools are in on him right now. I was talking to, coach, and, he was telling me that he's like, yeah, a lot of schools don't like, the slow 40 he ran recently. I think, Darien's got unbelievable ball skills, but, he isn't the biggest kid. So if you don't have the speed to compensate for the size, and it's definitely concerning, but he's got great ball skills. He's going to find a home somewhere, but it's not going to be Rutgers, I don't think.
I'm going to go with yes. Kind of a projection pick. I think this is just going to be a Fran Brown special. South Jersey guy, teammate of Elijah Clark. Rankings-wise, 4-star kid. He might drop to 3. I don't know if he's on Rivals. I think he's a 4-star. But regardless, he is I think he's going to end up in this class. Just a hunch, but I think Fran Brown special.
All right, less than a minute left. I think we got 30 seconds. Jazeen Harris just committed to Texas A&M. Yes or no? Can he flip him?
He's flippable, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, he's another one where, like, you get the free-for-all, later into the summer or maybe the fall where kids are going to be visiting elsewhere. But I think that Elijah Robinson's done a tremendous job. I think he's going to keep him there. He did so with Fadil Diggs. He loves himself as good pass rushers.
I'm not ready to say he flips, but I think he's absolutely flippable. I think if Shiano and Co stay on him, they could do it. I think people around him want to see him stay closer to home than Texas A&M. And I think that if Rutgers shows promise on the field and some improvement there, and some other local guys continue to come into the fold, I think there is definitely a chance he can end up at Rutgers. I'm not ready to make a call just yet, but flippable.
Perfect. That's all we have for today, guys. I'm sure we're going to try to do this again soon. Stay safe.
Stay safe, guys.